I'm a DJ boy, going to Dcentral, minting NFT, from the DeFi, being crypto poor but JPay rich.
Thank you guys. How's it going? Having a good afternoon? Everyone's a little sleepy, it sounds like. Sure, it's the heat.
Nap time.
Nap time.
That's right. Okay, good.
So our panel today, we're going to be talking about the next phase of growth for NFTs. Obviously, we've seen this industry grow and explode over time, and now it's kind of going into a different phase where mass adoption is going to be a big deal. So that's what we're going to hopefully talk about and demystify a little bit today. I'm going to have each one of the panelists introduce themselves because it's always better if they pronounce their names correctly and I don't do it wrong. And I like the way that they describe what they're currently working on a lot better than I could do it. So we're going to go across left to right here.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay, great. I am Asha Susan Cherian. I am a product manager. I currently work at Jackrabbit Mobile, which is based here in Austin, although I am here independently, representing myself. And I come from a background, originally as a founder, I had a health tech startup, kind of creating a consumer platform that enables an individual after the point of diagnosis to be able to really have an AI tool that enables you to know what the next step is and gives you access to all kinds of data points that are typically kind of siloed off from the consumer that typically your doctors would only have access to. So kind of integrating machine learning models as well as proprietary genetics-based profile that I created. And since then, I've been working in technology as a product manager and working primarily in the consulting space and for private clients. Have worked for some companies like L'Oreal, Investopedia, a number of other big companies, most recently Belong Gaming, built their mobile app, which serves millions of users, and really helped them launch. They're the biggest gaming company in the Western world right now, originally based in the UK, currently launching 500 experiential in-person gaming centers across the United States over the next 5 years. So if you haven't heard of them, you'll be hearing a lot about them. There will be more of them than there are Whole Foods stores in the United States. But I'm really passionate these days about Web3 product management, helping Web2 people kind of bridge and understand more about Web3. There's not a lot of people in the product space kind of thinking through how some of these Web2 dynamics could potentially apply in a Web3 space, and also thinking kind of bi-directionally about how Web3 companies can also benefit from Web2 fundamentals, and just a big advocate for not reinventing the wheel and really adapting a lot of those learnings across the ecosystem. So yeah, really happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you. Andrew.
Hi, my name's Andrew Schaberg. I'm with Superdraft. It's a Caesars-backed daily fantasy sports company. I'm the bat cowl there as the icon. Any DC or Marvel fans in the audience? Does anyone have a bat cowl? One, okay. Two, all right. Jeez, there's not many of us here. Okay. So we're what? Oh yeah, I have to be careful. Okay. We have been pivoting into the NFT gamification space. So think about taking any community and being able to gamify it, whether it's fantasy game modes, champion modes, battling against other NFTs. And so we started that back in February. And you can see the Superdraft app, obviously. If you guys are familiar with like DraftKings and FanDuel, we're kind of the third horse in that race. And so we pivoted to the NFT gamification. So thanks, Charles.
Thank you. Cool. Andrea.
Yeah. Andrea Castiglione, good. We were practicing the Italian name. So on my side, I'm the founder of a company called Silent Unicorn, and Silent Unicorn is a Web3 venture builder. I've been in crypto since 2013. In 2016, we started this venture builder, which literally means we start companies, invest in companies, and we help them bridge the gaps wherever they might come. And I'm here today to represent one of our newest companies that we're about to spin off, which is Relic, and spelled like this. I had to do it for ease. So yeah, basically, as some of our panelists are saying, it's very important to understand where NFTs are going next, and I think social networks are going to be a huge component. So the social wave is going to be quite big in the next iteration, and so we wanted to build something that could actually be a gateway for the Web2 users to actually get into Web3. But staying true to the Web3 narrative, which is, non-custodial first, and there is no intermediary, so we're not going to charge any fees if you buy and sell stuff on the social network. So, that's effectively what gets us passionate.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Great. John?
Hello. My name is John Kraski. I am Director of Strategic Partnerships for not only NFT Thought Leaders, which I co-founded with Charles Adkins, but now Admix, and we're making a massive pivot. We're going to be one of the largest metaverse builders in the world here shortly. I'm also a host of the NFT Heat podcast. We just celebrated our 50th episode, and now we're going to be on Alter TV, which I'm super excited about. We're actually having Charles back on later this week. He was our first ever guest, but
Love it.
love it, yes. And my job is really trying to build community, and then in my role at Admix, as my CEO loves to reiterate, I'm top of funnel, so that's sort of my focus. But I just love building community space. It's such an exciting time, and that's why we host these breakfasts all around the world, where different thought leaders from different parts of the value chain can come together and just develop really meaningful personal and professional relationships. So just happy to be here.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Thanks, John. So, Andrea, you walked into the room in the back, and I could tell you're one of the most positive people in the space. You haven't
Thank you.
stopped smiling since you got here.
Thanks.
So after going through
Something's wrong.
this latest cycle of how NFTs, we had a big explosion, and now there's a lot of kind of FUD in the marketplace, and people don't really understand what they are or what the actual future use case is and the underlying technology that drives them. How do you explain that to people, that all of this fear is not going to ruin the entire future for what NFTs are?
Yeah, great question, and thank you for saying that I smile a lot. I tend to forget about that, so I'll try to smile less. Future for NFTs is, and so right now NFTs are seen and perceived as JPEGs. Most of the people see NFTs as JPEGs, which is completely wrong. An NFT to us is a symbol of belonging to a certain community that aggregates around a passion. Okay, so NFT is literally a way to say I belong to a certain group of people that aggregates around a passion or a certain group of values. So, but NFTs could be anything. So enabling people to see the future of NFTs beyond making 1 million copies of apes or any sort of ape project or punk copies or any of that. That's just the first iteration. As everything, it's what gets the initial buzz and then it goes. By the way, can you hear me well in the back? Yeah. Okay, good. If you don't hear me, shout. So the reality is NFTs are much more than just JPEGs, and we need to start building the railways, so tools. And right now, bear market is actually a fantastic opportunity because you have the possibility to get actually the builders out and say, hey guys, this is what's going to be needed in the space. And social, for example, is a great way to express, because today what you do, you discover on Web 2. So you go on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, you build your communities on Web 2. Then you move to a Web 3 marketplace like OpenSea, LooksRare, or something different. Then you go back to your Web 2 social network to say, I just bought an ape follow ape, I'm part of this community, look at me. And then you go to Discord, which is also, again, Web 2, to verify your holdings and connect your wallet. So you go to 3 different platforms to do something that you could do in one single thing. So how do you actually get to that point? It's important to, create user experience that people actually like apps that people actually enjoy and they can easily access. So lower barrier to entry, allowing people that are already creating communities in the Web 2 space to actually get into the Web 3 with their tools, and that's I think what I believe and what we're trying to do.
Yep, that's true. And I know, Asha, you work a lot on the product side, and a lot of that has to do with the actual user experience as well. And I'm sure you've seen some of the pitfalls in the space from the early projects. We've had these discussions before. What do you think is kind of the next hurdle that people need to get over in learning that product experience and actually, using a lot of the former kind of frameworks that Web 2 provided and not reinventing the wheel? What are you kind of seeing in that space?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I would start by saying that the user is not present at all in any thinking around, I would say 99.9% of Web3 products. I don't say that to express lack of optimism about the space. I think fundamentally it comes from a couple of different dynamics. First, the fact that you have SaaS companies, people who are building services for brands, for example, who are really kind of functioning on the basis of selling to brands as a marketing product, right? So they're creating things that are not necessarily tailored to a user use case, right? So you're not thinking about the ways in which that user is actually going to be necessarily ascertaining value beyond advertising. So that's one model. That is, that's fine. It makes actually a lot of sense in this market, but it doesn't require or it doesn't position the user at the center. So in a model like that, for example, I would say that right now the focus is really on brands, and I think that makes, again, to reiterate, a lot of sense insofar as brands are the ones that are willing to pay for these kinds of products right now. It's still very early, as we've heard people say every single talk at this conference so far. And so naturally you need those who have the capital to experiment with advertising, with R&D, and that's always going to come from big brands. They're creating experiences that are innovative from an artistic perspective, innovative from an ads perspective, but really everyone is kind of throwing out this phase and this phrase of utility right now in NFTs, and there's no way that we can actually enter and pass that stage until we really position the user at the center of that entire experience and value chain. And what that means is, if you're a SaaS company, sure, you're thinking about your buyer, who is another company, but then really also thinking about their end user and building for that, just the way that you would in like a Web 2 kind of SaaS model. Beyond that, I think, the revolution of Web3 is the back-end technology, right? You could say it's cultural, or you could say it's back-end technological. And so there is pretty much zero user experience right now, which I see, again, enormously optimistically. It's a blue sky, it's a green space, whichever color you prefer in your metaphors. And I definitely want to see that kind of innovation. I actually think Web 2 is an excellent model for user experience innovation. Just the lengths that we've reached in Web 2. There's just fundamentally, even if Web 3 is a completely different model, I just can't wait to see people even starting to experiment with design tools. Potentially, I wonder what something like a Canva for potential front-end developers for blockchain would look like. You know, what is a front-end developer for Web3, right? So we're just starting to have these conversations, and I think the first step is maybe when thinking about your user, don't use Web3 words, right? Just fundamentally, don't say Web3, don't say metaverse, don't say blockchain. Some of the best companies, the ones that are considered blue chip in this space, are not doing so. And all they're doing is they're creating those products for those users, and they're creating entertaining experiences, and I think that that's absolutely the way to go. When each of you pull open your Google Maps today, you're not, experiencing what it means to have a navigation algorithm. There's nothing talking to you about a navigation algorithm. We don't need to teach people what NFTs are. We just need to create valuable products for them.
Yeah, I completely agree there. That's a great answer. Andrew, I know for you were in the NFT space. You've been in it for a while, but at Super Draft, you already were doing this daily fantasy in sports. And I think for you, from conversations we've had, you kind of got bored with the NFTs that you owned, and you started thinking, how do we actually gamify this? Is gamifying this in even an iGaming way, the future of it? So what was the thought process around making that pivot in using that utility with NFTs in, for lack of a better term, in the gambling space, really? How did that work for you guys?
Yeah, I think everyone's touched on that with what the real utility is going to be with these NFTs, right? And everyone talks about the added value or the benefits that people are going to get. And, the white papers, the roadmaps, they all promise, hey, something's coming. But the reality is it's going to take 6, 12, 18 months to build it. So the thought process was pretty simple when I looked at what we had, and I said, how do we give every NFT holder immediate value? And that was January, February. And everybody here, I'm sure, has one NFT or 500 NFTs. And you're all looking at them like, what can I do with them? Even my back cal, I look at it. But we started gamifying them, taking, you can take like a top shot moment. You can take a cool cats, and you can use the milk as currency, right, in an exchange to be able to bet, gamble, do whatever in a fantasy tournament or a game mode, anything. So just trying to give people games to play without waiting 6 or 12 months. And, video game companies are trying to build NFT games, and those are going to be tens of millions of dollars in 6 to 12 months. And so since we're talking about growth, right, if we can not save the NFT market, but we can at least hold it so the floor just doesn't keep dropping, everybody can use their NFT right now to be able to gamify against many other NFTs. So it was pretty much a no-brainer. I think anybody could figure that out. It's just, do you have the technology and the team to be able to pull it off?
Yeah, I think that was the big thing when meeting you, was the tech stack behind it was incredible already. It's not very often you just hear a company that already has that much of an established track record, especially backed by Caesars, all of a sudden say, this is probably a good industry to be in. So I always took that as a very optimistic indicator too, because obviously people know where products going, especially in that space. And John, you're at the forefront of pretty much every NFT community out there. You kind of know what the pulse of the community is. Like, we always talk about the future of NFTs and their use cases and how we grow these things exponentially. And what are some of your thoughts around that topic?
Top of the funnel.
What? Top of the funnel? Yeah. In my experience, I'm talking to some of the biggest brands in the world, and honestly, there's a lot of stumbling blocks because the executives at most of these big companies, they still don't even understand NFTs, Web3. These companies don't even know how to internally build out an NFT Web3 team. So there's just a lot of indecision right now in these big companies, and then it gets to the CFO's desk and they want a revenue model. There's just not enough data there to even project revenues right now. So I always tell companies to really look at this as a marketing expense. I mean, that's the way you really have to treat it. That's the only way they're going to be able to jump in. So, I mean, that's my biggest advice. And I mean, I'm always leaning on Charles because, Charles is probably one of the smartest people in the space that really understands all the things that happen in Web 1 and Web 2, and he can basically map what's happening in those cycles to what's happening now. And I mean, according to Charles, where are we? 1986?
I mean, yeah, in my opinion, we're probably 85, 86. I know a lot of people think we're in the 90s, but we don't even have a www yet. I mean, we don't have a TCP/IP, any protocol that works across every blockchain. So, yeah, we're in the 80s. The big difference, and we talk about this a lot, is we've never seen velocity like this in a tech cycle ever. So, whereas back then, between 85 and 95, when there was a 10-year gap between a general user could really be on the internet and navigate it, that's all happened in blockchain in 6 months. And now all the user tools are coming out, and that's happening much faster than any other tech cycle we've seen before. So I think if a lot of people think they have time to think about it, or we're going through a 3 to 5 year creator cycle, then we're going into a tech cycle, it's already passed. I mean, the tech cycle's here. People are already building the tools. Everybody up here is building the tools. So I think that's something to always keep in mind. Andrea, what are you most optimistic about as far as the future growth of NFTs? And let's say it's using your blue sky thinking, where do you think this needs to go? Is it running smart cities? Is it connecting to IoT devices? Is it just running full enterprise applications? Or I have some people tell me the best way to make NFTs usable for everybody is to make sure that people don't even know they're there. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I fully agree with that. Actually, I don't want to be shilling the platform or anything like that. We're about to launch, not there yet, so I'm not shilling the platform. But the idea of making it easy for companies without even realizing, or for companies or for people to create NFTs. So for us, is literally like Instagram. So you press a button and say, okay, I want to take a picture from my camera. I want to turn it into an NFT. You choose which blockchain you're going to use. We integrate 4 or 5 different blockchains, and you mint immediately. It doesn't go into the, I need to create a smart contract. I need to talk to this person and that person. It's very easy. So people can just create a profile with email address and password. That's all you need to start browsing. Because one of the things that it's difficult today is the fact that we're building things. Nerds build things for nerds, which is not what it's supposed to be. Because before I even get to the point of buying an NFT, I need to be able to discover. I need to be able to interact with other people. I need to see. So the ability for you to enter a space with just an email and a password, it's what's necessary to just create a profile, go around, see what other people are doing. You follow, you like, you share, before you think of buying an NFT. So we're making everything revolve around buying an NFT, but it's NFTs are much more than just JPEGs, as I said. It could be that I record the video and I say, if I die under mysterious circumstances, everything goes to my cat. That's my will. So it becomes something that has more utility than just printing an image. So lowering the barriers, I think it's the most important thing, and that's what but not just our company. Everyone is trying to do this. So I think the real builders, this is where they're looking at right now.
That's why I agree with your sentiment on the bear market's great for builders, because a lot of the noise kind of gets shaken out, and you get to see who's there, who's robust, who's really interested in building the underlying infrastructure more so than doing a lot of the day trading stuff. Asha, what are you most optimistic about on the future of NFTs? I know, the user's not there yet. They're not really being accounted for. How long do you think till we get there? That's a big question to ask, because we all want to predict the market, right? But
yeah.
Is it going to be a while, or are we getting there? Do you see things that are positive?
I'd like to see more. It's like you say, it's really hard to predict how long, but I think one of the things that gives me the most optimism is actually towards your first question here today about the bubble bursting. I really love this book by Carlotta Perez called Technological Revolutions, and it's a treatise that kind of connects the financial to the technological, and she traces the history of innovation back from, back to Gutenberg, back to early technological innovations, and she indicates that in each of these periods of human history, there were bubbles that were burst, and that this is actually a financial pattern that is endemic to innovation cycles. And so when you start to frame the space within that kind of mindset, it gives you a lot of opportunity for optimism. Now, when is the user going to appear on our stage? I don't know. I'm like lighting a candle for her and him and them, like every weekend, waiting for that opportunity to work on that cool project. But, I think once we get past the early stages that require just like a ton of heavy lifting, momentum from big players, I think we'll start to see some companies emerge. For example, there are some great companies that don't call themselves Web3 companies. Like there's one based here in Austin called Immutable. They're really amazing platform that currently is a VR platform that is a workspace solution for, say, for example, for the insurance industry, right? So what you find when you look at the workflow for insurance, certain types of commercial insurance agents, is that often every single day they have to sit in front of 5 to 6 screens, right? They're not doing the work of a day trader, but they're still having to kind of interface with a lot of data simultaneously, which makes it's just a clunky experience in terms of hardware. And now with the vast majority of people working from home, it creates even more of kind of a space crunch. And so Immutable has actually built this VR workspace product that enables consumers to put on a VR headset and see I think it's up to like 11 or 12 screens in front of you at very high fidelity and just very high user experience. And they're naturally very well positioned the second that 5G kind of hits, the velocity that we need it to transition straight to AR and just take over spaces like the metaverse. And you don't see them ever saying the word metaverse or AR or any of that. They are just building something for insurance agents, and they're making money, and they're getting so far ahead that no one else is going to be able to catch up. So that's one company I'm really excited about. I don't even know any of those guys. I'm like starting to talk to them on LinkedIn, but just a big fan of lots of companies like that are quietly building. And I think there's a lot of potential there.
That's amazing. All of you, really great to have you on the panel. We're going to have to wrap up here really quickly. Where's the best place to find each of you? John, we'll start with you.
Well, obviously LinkedIn. So
LinkedIn king, right? Okay. Andrea?
Same. If you want to use LinkedIn, otherwise you can email me andrea@silentunicorn.com or relic.com. Same.
Same, LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. I'm Asha Susan Cherian, and also you can add me on Twitter, which I guess I use once in a while. It's Asha Susan _.
All right, and I'm Charles Adkins. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. Let's give a big round of applause for our guests today. Really happy to be on this panel with you all. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.